This video is my reaction to the New Year's Day Warhammer reveals. So first, Happy New Year to everyone. Games Workshop has made a bold prediction that there will be a lot of new models in 2021. There are a lot of new models every year, so that's probably not a surprise. And generally, every week of the year. Now, 2021 will pose some challenges because we're at least initially going to a bi-weekly release cycle, and there will be delays due to the pandemic, but no doubt we will be seeing some amazing new models this year. So I'm going to start with the big boy that we know the most about. So if you think this model is excessive, perhaps over the top, then it is designed perfectly for the god of excess, pleasure, and debauchery. So this model is Glutos Orscollion, Lord of Gluttony. Now, obviously we were anticipating this model, and the language of the article would suggest that this is perhaps the last anticipated reveal for the upcoming Hedonites, because it reads, "We showed you many of the new kits, but we kept one a secret until now." Now, I think it's possible that there are other releases, but even as it stands, February will be a huge release. There still could be some surprises, but time will tell. So, guided by the demon Lothsar, Glutos Orscollion seeks to sample the most exotic tastes in all the mortal realms, irrespective of how unseemly the source. The Lord of Gluttony is a gifted sorcerer, whose loathsome magics can unmake any who seek to deny him his bounty of flesh to devour. Riding atop an opulent palanquin borne aloft by a pack of grotesque mutants, Glutos is surrounded by a devoted court of servants who cater to his every decadent whim. If you're looking for a centerpiece for your Hedonites of Slaanesh collection, look no further than this astonishing kit. It's massive. What's more, the Lord of Gluttony is equally impressive on the battlefield, so he's definitely one to watch out for. Alright, okay. So that's the language from the article. Now, I'm a little skeptical when they say that the model will be impressive on the battlefield. Sometimes that's doesn't quite work out the way that they advertise, right? Because the actual stats on a model itself in Age of Sigmar are not the full story, right? There's a whole bunch of extra command abilities and buffs and stuff that can really boost even models that don't look that great on paper. And we know things like the Mega Gargant were seemingly also described as being absolutely amazing on the battlefield. And for their points, they can be a little lackluster. So we'll see. It doesn't really matter to me. I think that they absolutely looks rather beautiful. Given the size and seeming importance of the model, let's just hope it has kind of a suitable role. So this model does, in my opinion, look rather incredible. There's a lot of detail here. The mutants are really cool. I really love that little helmet on the mutant on the right. But even the guy on the left looks great. And you have a really real sense of just how heavy this palanquin would be as those mutants struggle to pull this along, because the palanquin seems to be made of pure marble. That might be a little hard to paint, in my opinion, but I love the shaped images of the attendants and slaves that are kind of holding up the palanquin that are carved into the marble. Those are really great details, and a similar aesthetic is kind of found on the Cauldron of Blood. So the physical attendants are great, very individualized, which is nice, and like that warrior on the left is absolutely amazing. And like that peacock ornamentation, it's probably just a really great opportunity to play with like an accent color. I love that the canopy is held aloft by like a carved snake. Really kind of cool choice. Again, channeling kind of that Eastern vibe a little bit. Glutos himself has a lot of detail. from all his tentacles, his pipe, that crazy mirror with like the image of like a face. Just so many cool things. Like honestly, the more you stare at this model, the more little things pop out. And when we knew the Hedonite models were going to be fleshed out, this is the type of model we wanted but perhaps could never anticipate. Like it really kind of defies expectations. Brand new character out of the blue with such incredible importance. On top of Sigvald, I'm not really sure if I would have expected this type of model at all if we hadn't already seen some little hints in images of it previously. So just like kind of the triumph of St. Catherine or the Mortarch of the Necropolis, this is a model verging closely to a diorama. But this is a model that people will have a lot of fun with. It could be painted in a million different ways. And I want this model, but it's also super intimidating for that reason. My God, this is probably not a model to paint in a week. This is probably something that takes a lot of time and effort. And sticking to my goals for 2021, I'll simply say that I'm cautiously very interested. And we'll see. Depending on how it plays out in the game, it might be something that you must buy, but I'll be holding out judgment until I see a little more. Now, 6 other models were teased, and many were already hinted at through the rumor engine in 2020. But let's look at each of these. So continuing in Age of Sigmar, we have 2 models for the Lumineth Realmlords. These kind of have one has a mage on a cloud, the other is kind of a mounted model. And we know that there will be a Lumineth warband for Warhammer Underworlds in 2021. That's confirmed. It's possible that both of these models are for that game. But I suspect that they are for AOS. We are anticipating some sort of reinforcements for the Lumineth range of models. Something tells me that the model on the cloud is for Warhammer Underworlds, but time will tell. Sigmar likes to regularly open new chambers of Stormcast Eternals, and kind of the Lumineth have their own narrative version of this. The kind of mountain faction was released this year, but we're still expecting models that represent kind of river, wind, and kind of air or heavens. And the fact that we have a character on a cloud has led many to believe that this is kind of a wind contingent. Now, I don't know. Perhaps there is some significance to the symbol on the shield, but otherwise we don't know if the mounted model is a unit or a character. There's a lot of speculation here. I don't think one guy on a cloud is quite enough to make a definitive judgment, but time will tell. Okay, so let's turn to this model. This one has me excited. A vampire release of some sort is expected this year, at least in Warhammer Underworlds, but we're also hoping just in a general Age of Sigmar line. And my guess is that this model is from that line. It does have like this weird greenish skin and some rather aggressive teeth. So some people have said that this is an orc or something else. But generally orcs do not have like that type of corroded weapons like the axe. And the shield is far too elaborate. Honestly, apart from the flesh, those types of aesthetics are more in line with a death rattle and the features on skeletons. They have that type of elaborate shield and the corroded weapons. So my sense is that this could be for Warhammer Underworlds. We do know that there's kind of a vampire aesthetic Warhammer Underworlds warband coming out at some point. But my guess, and I'm really hoping that this is for Soulblight vampires in general, right? Even if it is for the warband, at least release something else alongside as an independent line. Now, it does have some weird flesh, dead walkers. is a possibility, but I think it's a little too robust for that aesthetic. A little too cultured, if you will. But I cannot wait to find out what GW does with the traditional vampire counts aesthetic in AOS. And if they're looking for a unique IP, they really could go down a road that is quite unexpected. So let's turn to this vampire hunter. All right. We know with reasonable certainty that this is not part of a Warhammer Underworlds warband. It seems to be kind of more of a human character. There are no humans that we know of slated for Underworlds this year, or at least in the first 6 months or so. Every other model teased today is either 40k or AOS. That has led some to suggest that this model is for Lord of the Rings. And they kind of argue that because it doesn't have any identifiable markings, that the model cannot be for Warhammer. I'm skeptical, and I want this to be a Warhammer model. I'm probably a little biased here, but I don't think Lord of the Rings models are this detailed or this smooth. That's just my general impression of the differences between the model lines. This seems like it is designed digitally, and there was kind of a rumor engine images of a hammer and rifle. Here we have the hammer, and my guess is that the rifle is resting on the model's shoulder. The model is also clearly a vampire hunter with several wooden stakes on his belt. I mean, are there even vampires in Lord of the Rings? My guess is that this is kind of the Order of Vizier or the Devoted of Sigmar, and this type of model is assigned to hunt down and exterminate the previous model that we looked at. This would be really cool, and again, hoping that this is sign of a much larger range of models rather than kind of a standalone. It's possible it is some sort of 40k Inquisitor model. That's at least within the realm of possibilities. But I'm hoping, given kind of the narrative and given some of the other releases we've seen or expect, that this is kind of more of a vampire hunter contingent. So the other two, and again, 40k doesn't have the vampire aesthetic that they would want to have wooden stakes for. So the other two models teased today were for Adeptus Mechanicus and Adeptus Titanicus. I don't have too much to say about either model. They seem rather self-explanatory to me. The AOS models are kind of a mix of, possible anticipation of new lines, a little bit of a mystery here, right? The Adeptus Mechanicus model is like a tech priest of some sort. Right? There's no doubt about that. Could be a special character, but it's all speculation there. But there's no doubt about what those models are and what army they belong to. The Titanicus model, some have been arguing or at least wishing that it belongs to kind of a titan larger than a reaver, and that could well be true. I don't know if there's enough detail that we've seen that would kind of indicate a slight change in scale. There is kind of like that protruding gun up top, maybe something poking out the top of the model, but again, we'll have to see what happens there. So perhaps the miracle here is that there isn't a single Space Marine, but I guess we all know those are coming. 2021 might be a little slower than previous years, but there still will be a ton of product, right? GW puts out a ludicrous amount of product. Like, weekly product for a company is kind of mind-boggling, right? The average company doesn't put out new things every single week, and Games Workshop does. And so even if it's half of the regular amount or 2/3 of what we would normally expect, that's still a lot of new product. And if things get slowed down, as they were in 2020 throughout 2021, well, then we can expect an absolute bonkers 2022 and 2023 as they tried to kind of roll out all the releases that got pushed behind schedule. So we have Death Guard lined up in January and the Hedonites in February. This could be a very interesting year with plenty of reinforcements and completely new lines of models. I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Please consider supporting the channel by commenting on the video, hitting that little like button, and subscribing for more Warhammer content.